Here's Sean Spicer, the Communications Director for the RNC. Sean, welcome back. Good to see you.
Great to see you, Trish.
So let me ask you about something that your boss, Reince Priebus, said recently. He said that he expects Trump and Clinton to be tied in the polls by Labor Day. Tell me about the path you see and he sees to getting Trump's poll numbers higher.
Well, if you look over the last 2 weeks, Trish, we've seen probably the best 2 weeks of the Trump campaign, and that combined with probably the worst 2 weeks of the Clinton campaign. Last week, they got embroiled in the Iran hostage ransom deal, then the revelation of an additional 15,000 emails, continued revelations about some of the quid pro quo, pay-per-play stuff that's happened with the Clinton Foundation. I think those two elements combined have showed this race unbelievably tight again. The YouGov poll came out, showed it tied. The LA Times poll showed it 2-up. Not just nationally, but you're seeing it in the battleground states as well. Florida, Nevada, Iowa, North Carolina. These states all coming home. Republican voters coming back on board, which has allowed the race to get within a point or two, either one up or one down. And I think as we head into Labor Day and Trump continues to have another good week, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see us tied or up one.
Is this perhaps why Hillary Clinton now is really getting quite personal in her attacks? You heard the sound that we just played, and she's really attacking Donald Trump, telling minority communities when he says, what do you have to lose if you vote for me? And she's saying, look, you got everything to lose. And she's saying it in a tone, by the way, that's a little softer, a little gentler. It's almost like she's really trying to convince people that he is the scariest alternative out there. Yet, Sean, we haven't heard a ton in the way of actual policy from her.
Well, that's right. I mean, I actually think she has been heard a lot. She's been in Beverly Hills, Greenwich, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, raising money, keeping a very low profile, and I think that was their plan that they set out a month ago. They thought that Donald Trump was going in one direction. They figured if we just keep her hidden, we don't put her out in front of the American public, don't allow her to give a press conference, that we continue to raise cash. And I think what they realized, they'd always planned to go negative and hard and desperate at the end, but I don't think that they saw the polls tightening this quick again. So you're seeing this desperate plea that she had to throw early, because I think once they saw some of the polls nationally and in the battleground states coming back, Republicans coming home, they knew that they didn't have a choice. So I never thought that they'd go this desperate this soon, but nothing seems to surprise me this day. So it's shocking that they went this hard, but I think they realize it. And I think they also didn't realize the impact that the American public and the response it would have with Trump reaching out the way he has, asking for people's votes, talking and sitting around at different various roundtables, trying to further talk about the issues that are plaguing key communities in this country.
Well, I want to point out, he has had certainly anything but a traditional campaign, and just ago he launched an app where supporters can communicate via that app and get the latest on the campaign and the events, and make donations as well. So he certainly has not been traditional, and that has to be catching her off guard. Let me ask you, though, about something else. We have heard what some have called a softening in his tone when it comes to the immigration issue. And I wonder if this actually has her scared as well, because let's not forget, Sean, independents will have a big part in deciding this race. And if he can bring in some of those independents, perhaps by sounding a little softer on the immigration front, that has to have her running a little bit scared. Tell me about what's going on there with the immigration policy, what you anticipate he will put forward, and whether or not he can bring his base along with him as he brings in some of those independent voters.
Yeah, it's a great question, because I think he's been able to really toe a line, talking about border security first and talking about the wall, making sure that people understand that it's not just solving the problem and then having it reappear a few years later, by really strengthening the border, making sure that we take a real look at legal immigration, that's going to prevent future problems. And then once that's done, once the border is secure, once the wall is built, then we go back and look at the 11 million plus that are in this country illegally. And I think, as he said before, we've got to be fair, firm, and humane. And what that means, and I think a lot of people are looking for to interpret what all this means. He's going to lay it out in a speech in the next couple of weeks. But more importantly, what he's saying is, you can't just, no one realistically thinks that one day you're going to wake up and 11 million people are going to be on. But you've got to be smart about it. You've got to understand it holistically, and that means that you look at the people who have committed a crime first, the people who are here, maybe who have overstayed their visas second. But I think you've got to do it in a way that understands that some of these people have been here a long time, they've got families, they're ingratiated in a community, and they're going to have an impact on the economy. And so you've got to do it smartly and holistically in terms of the plan that we're looking to lay out in the next couple of weeks.
It's
Tristan, the other thing is, and I think you
very
touched on this in the question, is
Go ahead, Sean.
And I think what you touched on in the question, not about just immigration, but this is a change election. And I think the frustration that not only Donald Trump, but frankly Bernie Sanders on the left tapped into is that the American people are tired of being told you should accept the status quo, you should accept a government that's non-responsive, you should accept, not stagnant wages. And I think what Trump represents is he is the agent of change. He is someone who's saying, I'm not from politics, I'm from business, I have a degree of success in business, I know how to make things better, I'm not going to put up with status quo. And I think people are yearning for that kind of change, and Hillary Clinton knows that after 40 years of being part of that establishment, part of the status quo, part of the pay-per-play scandal, Clinton, thing that has gone on for a long time, that she's got a real tough challenge to convince people to stick with that and not go with the change that Donald Trump offers.
Yeah, well, it's fascinating to watch, and I think that the last 10 days or so have been really monumental in terms of the change we have seen in Donald Trump, in that the media has been able to spend more time focusing on things like the Clinton Foundation, and they've been less distracted by some of his comments along the way. So perhaps if he can keep it up and just stick to those policy ideas, it'll continue to have her running scared. We'll see whether or not they can narrow that gap by Labor Day, as you point out, Sean. Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here.